So, up, up, up we go. So, it's probably a Sunday when I'm releasing this video. I am starting the last video I posted of Silksong. I decided to do it on Sunday, and my normal video schedule is Tuesdays and Fridays. But I'm starting Silksong Sundays. Silksong Sundays. And basically I'm doing that because I'm playing a lot of this game, and I've made a handful of videos for it. And I don't want to just flood my channel with nothing but Silksong videos. So I decided to start posting videos on Sunday as well, but just Silksong stuff. So it doesn't mean that every Sunday we'll have a Silksong video, and Silksong videos might still fill in the occasional Tuesday or Friday, but the idea is that the bulk of the Silksong videos that I make are going to be posted on Sundays. So, happy Silksong Sunday. Also, somebody in the comments said that this guy can be killed. You just have to hit him for a while. And that he drops a unique reward. So, before we go to the locked door, I wanted to smack this guy around. But with his double damage and his ability to usually double hit me if I get bumped by him, he is pretty dangerous. Also, he just has a lot of health. But we will keep chipping away. So, I have been having great fun with Silksong still. I have played more since recording this footage, and I've actually recorded footage for the next video on this that I'm going to do, because I'm still trying to make my other regular videos, and I need to in particular get the two voted on videos for this month ready, which is the Half-Life Highway 17 video, part 2 of that, and the Grand Theft Auto 5 Interesting Locations Exploration video. So I recorded Half-Life today. But anyway, all that is to say is, with how much I'm playing Silksong, which is, honestly not like, I'm not binging it, but I'm playing it faster than I'm able to make videos, so as I said, I already have the footage for the next part recorded. And that play session is pretty brutal. there, but pretty much the whole video is just two halves. The first half is me searching around an area, trying to complete a quest, trying to find the last item needed for a quest. And then the second half of the video is me fighting a boss, and just, fighting it over and 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 over again. And the real number of attempts is probably like 2 to 3 times as many times as I said end over there. So also, I'm just smacking these guys for a very long time because I'm trying to kill them, but I don't think it's possible to kill them. This is kind of similar to those centipede type enemies from the first game that would, come out of the ceiling or the walls and just go in a straight line all the way. But these guys are much smaller. This whole area is a little... So I think we need a double jump to get up there. This whole area is kind of claustrophobic and labyrinthian, with lots of narrow passageways and enemies that kind of take advantage of that to attack you, especially these little dudes that burrow up from the ground. And lots of spikes to avoid. So, oh yeah, so like right here, it's kind of a little trap area there, I guess. Those little guys like to come at you in these very thin tunnels with low ceilings and mess you up because you have nowhere to run to. But it's not too difficult in here because you can restore your silk by hitting these enemies, and they're not threatening if you just stand in a safe position. So it gives you lots of lots of breathing room to just refill your silk and heal, and refill your silk and heal. And we're in a big towering shaft here. Something that makes me very sad about is the fact that rosaries, when they fall onto spikes and other deadly hazards, are destroyed. And I think that's kind of lame. I think that the magnet charm that I'm wearing should pull those rosaries up off spikes to me. I don't know if it's because they don't want it. Maybe it's like too fast to farm rosaries if there's an enemy right by a spike pit and a door, and so you can keep reloading the area and just knock them into the spike pit, get an insta-kill, and then retrieve the rosaries. I don't know if that's always makes me sad when I'm fighting an enemy and I lose the rosaries because they happen to be by a spike pit. Greetings, Shakra. It was a welcome surprise to hear your call echo through these crumbling tunnels. How goes the search for your master? Boshanka, it is a difficult task to track anything in these caverns while the worms ceaselessly churn the rock. Still, I can see that my master has traveled here. Her path within this land winds strangely. I wonder at her intent. It is no matter though. She can enlighten me when again we meet. Until then, I will continue in her shadow. And Shakra here can sell us many things. A lot of pins that are stacking up that I have not purchased. He can also sell us a map of the area. Yeah, in my last play session, ended up buying a bunch of pins from him as my map was expanding and I was starting to encounter, more merchants and bellway stations and stuff. I just figured that I would like the visual clarity of knowing exactly where those things are and having them mark. Dead bug's purse, discarded purse of a fallen pilgrim, allows the bearer to retain some rosaries upon defeat. So, you can minimize your losses with that one. I don't know how significant it is, how much of a percentage you keep or whatever it is, but it's not a super appealing charm to me. What are those called, by the way? I keep calling them charms. Which is what they were in the first game. And I've also called them crests, but I think that's what... They are not crests. I think that you slot them into crests. I don't know what their actual name is. But out of the wormways now, things are green again, so seem to have found our way into a mossy area here with lots of these hanging chains. Are they elevators? You can use them as elevators in some areas, but they are very small and narrow. Here we have a bench that we can buy, and I very rarely buy these benches because, as I've said, the rosary expenditure in this game is pretty intense to me. Also, we're in a new area called Shellwood. Yeah, the rosaries in this game are... I desperately need more of them, like all the time. There's always so much more stuff to buy. There's a bunch of merchants that I haven't even touched their stock. And then there's tons of bench stations that I haven't opened up. So, rosaries are always on the mind. And benches. There's enough free benches around that also, this is where I make a little mistake here. It's my first time encountering this machine, and I want to know what it does does. So I insert my rosaries, and it gives you a rosary string. So it just does what you can do at the merchant. I'm swinging my needle at it because I'm very annoyed. Basically just wasted 20 rosaries. Yeah, looks like I'm just gonna crack this bench. Yeah, I'm not generally in the habit of summoning these benches, just because of how valuable my rosaries are. And the benches are nice to have, but honestly, a lot of times, you end up, there are free benches that you can find, and oftentimes they can be in more useful positions anyways. And then, the worst thing that can happen if I don't buy the bench is that I spawn a little bit farther away, but usually the benches are in kind of safe places anyways, or places that are easy to reach, the ones that you can buy anyways. There are a lot of times by Bellway stations, for instance. But yeah, I'm hoping there comes a day where I am a little more lush with the rosaries. Cartography, the charting of caverns. Yeah, and as I said, I think in the last video, I lost like 500 rosaries when I was exploring the ant area, the big red, the Hunter's March, I think, which was a pretty brutal loss. 500 rosaries, it could have paid for a lot of benches, let's put it that way. But all in all, I'm making, I think, good progress in the game. Even with that setback, there's some stuff like that I would be curious about if I had more rosaries, but are not really blocking progression. So, for instance, the Forge Mother merchant, she sells like new equipment, new tools, and an upgrade to your tools. And I'd be curious to try out the new tools, but it's very low priority for me compared to, say, opening up Bellway stations. So I'm just trying to set up a classic Hollow Knight activity where you bring an enemy right where you want them so that you can use them to pogo. And I missed the pogo anyways. Maybe, no. Not sure if I ever actually get up here. But, yeah, so far I am really enjoying my time with this game. I think I said last time that I find it significantly harder than Hollow Knight, and since making that video, I still agree with that statement. As I said, I just fought a boss recently that took me like, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes, which is, a pretty big chunk of time for an early game boss. Now, at the same time, as I've also said, I'm definitely pretty rusty. So I think I could have learned my lessons faster and beaten the boss quicker, but, also finding some more lore stuff. That's kind of interesting. I'll hold off on talking about that just for spoiler reasons. In case you guys are playing along with me. I don't want to give that stuff away. Although if you're watching this, I assume that to some extent you don't mind minor spoilers. I don't know, what do you think? Should that be a topic of conversation? Would you mind if I talk about the story stuff as I, what I've been discovering? Or would you prefer these videos to remain largely spoiler-free, besides what happens in the video, of course? So we're back in the wormways. I'm just continuing to explore, trying to find other secrets. And this is the kind of thing where I should have purchased, this is a fool's errand. I try for a while to hop up there, or maybe I do in a minute, but I try to pogo off a guy and there's just no chance of it ever happening. Also, we have an old friend here. These little blue, cherry things. Very reminiscent of the first Hollow Knight, where you could find these guys all around the map. And they would give you some more hearts. There was a fun little secret area in Hollow Knight. It was a big door down in the depths of the map, and to open the door you had to have, I think, like 10 extra hearts from those little blue pods. And you could get some of them from charms, but you did also have to actually collect them and then get down to the door without taking enough damage to, not meet the requirement anymore. I don't remember what was at the end of that path. It was a charm, I believe, but I can't recall what exactly it did. But I remember that being a fun little challenge. Figuring out how to get all of the hearts that you needed to open that door, and then trying to safely navigate your way there. It was kind of a miniature version of what do I do here? Do I do a foolish thing or a smart thing? Okay, I did. Oh, right, I dropped down on the wrong side. See if the chapel maid has anything to say. Nope, nothing new from her. I think I realize at this point that I dropped down on the wrong side, and I think I go all the way back up and around here, but that happens at some point in this video. I don't know if it's right now or if I circle back later, but we do get to the hidden area behind the chapel. The chapel, the chapel, the chapel. Still no new quests. No new quests on the wishboard. The wishboard. But we did find enough fleas to fulfill the flea is the flexibility in path. You know, there's so much freedom in where you choose to go, what path calls to you. There have been areas that I have neglected for a very long time at this point. Alright, here we are with Mushka. Look, look, so many fleas have joined the caravan. What a miracle. We cannot thank you enough for honoring our humble wish. The lost fleas, wish granted. There are still many fleas for us to be united with though, and we've rested long enough. The caravan must head higher. Oh, but stranger, how remiss of me. I introduced myself earlier without ever asking for your own name. Forgive me. Please, what shall we call you? You may call me Hornet, Fleamaster. Know that I, like you, am glad to see your fellow fleas safe with your caravan. These are dangerous lands to travel alone. I still have a long journey ahead of me. If I come across any more fleas, I will assist where I am able. Oh, Vaventa, that is to say incredible. What a beautiful thing for me to hear. Dear friend, Miss Hornet, our caravan must be away now, toward the wide moor high above. Would you travel with us as our honored guest? Travel with the Flea caravan? Yes, I think we will. Excellent, excellent. Let us make preparations and be off without delay. Rouse yourself, fleas, for the caravan roams once more. So, the Flea caravan, of course, is sort of filling. I love this. All the fleas with their different facial expressions, and Hornet just sitting in the middle of them. It's quite adorable. The fleas in this game sort of filling in the role of the grubs from the first game. The journey here was long, but we didn't lose a single flea. I'm told it's good luck to bring a guest along when traveling, so we must have you to thank. I trust the trip was agreeable for you. A pleasure, perhaps, nestled in with our dear little ones. They certainly make for energetic travel companions. I've not often had opportunity to socialize with such spirited sorts. Splendid. And now you must go and see Krishkin sitting there by the bubbling cauldron. After long travel, we drink to revive our spirits. Alright, we have a little flea wagon here. And inside is Varga Dodeshna. Want for shelter from the thick grey air is heavy and wet. I'm sorry for the little flea's health in this land. Pardon me, I'm worried for the little flea's health. And they make play in the filthy water. I say them stop, but they just laugh and splash on me. They are lack respect. Most bugs instinctively obey those with strength and will. Speak with authority, or your commands may go unheeded. Really, is Fleamaster's job to teach the fleas such. I will have rest here until it's time to move on. strange beasts prowl these grey lands. I hear them roar and shriek outside camp. It's best to stay inside and make quiet. Alright, and that's all that Varga has to say. So let's go check in with Grishkin and see what he has for us in his bubbling cauldron. Dudeshna, Miss Hornet is it? Welcome to our new camp. The traveling is done, and so we drink. Is no better way to revive spirit than to drink the famous Flea brew. I have just finished the batch, bubbling and warm. Your friend, finder of lost little fleas. Here, take bottle of Flea brew with you. Will keep you warm while you travel. I am always brewing here, so have no fear to drink plenty and return whenever you are wanting more. Alright, we have a new tool, Flea Brew. Invigorating beverage prepared by the Flea caravan. Temporarily increases the speed of movement and attacks. So, a little buffing tool, which is kind of fun. Getting in more attacks in, short boss opening windows is pretty useful. And I will say, however, when you want to get more pilgrim, this settlement welcomes all who step the holy path. May you ease your shell within, that your strength renewed can carry you higher. I found a couple tools in this game that are regenerated by spending rosaries. So we have a little cutscene here of Hornet stepping into the settlement and finding all the bugs suspended by silk. A pretty disturbing sight. Haunted Bellhart. So the fleas, for instance, if you want more Flea brew, you need to go spend some rosaries to get more brew, which in the end is not really a huge problem. It's not super expensive. You can just go kill a couple enemies and farm it very quickly, but as I've said many times, for a man who is very unhappy to part with his rosaries, it does concern me. So here we have another bell beast station. So I'm going to break some of my rosary chains to open this up. Because as I've said, I do like to prioritize opening bellway stations for faster traversal around the map. So here comes our old friend, our little buddy. And then there was a little hidden tunnel down here, so we will go check that. I like these tunnels of bells. The frequency of bells in this game is kind of cool. What do you want, slave? That's fine. Slave, I am a traveler, stranger. has happened to the bugs above us. They hang trapped in a vast snare of thread. Hardly surprising that there's the final fate for all in Farloom. Just come seeking a little sooner for them above. Surely, oh surely, you don't imagine your own end will be different. All that hunger and fear and pride filling your fragile heart, you too are bound to end ensnared. Begone. In Farloom, only a fiend believes themselves free. You want to cut them down? Yes, you look cruel enough. Once the strings are cut, pain will return to them. They will remember fear and longing. What a choice you make for them. Such power you grant yourself. Always no more words on a slave. Begone. Alright, well, that is the end of our time with that rather unpleasant little hermit. But perhaps we will revisit them when we end the curse on Bellhart. And I'm just, as always, just checking walls. Always gotta run into walls in this game and see if you can break them. Break open little hidden tunnels and such. So let us return to Bone Bottom. Back to Bone Bottom. I was, just thinking I've been seeing a lot of Hollow Knight stuff on YouTube recently, and it got me thinking about a little problem, which is, when you're interested in something, and then a new installment of that thing comes out. So in this case, I like Hollow Knight, and Hollow Knight Silksong has just come out, and so I'm enjoying watching Hollow Knight videos. There's a very tricky thing where, spoilers, right, people are posting stuff, all the, posting stuff from the game, posting late game bosses, and, late game, narrative events, and stuff that happens with NPCs, and all this stuff, and it kind of blows. It's a very tricky situation, because in some sense, you want to be part of the zeitgeist, right? I like Hollow Knight, and it's very exciting that Silksong is finally out, and so I'm watching Silksong stuff because I'm enthusiastic about it. But then you run into the issue of stuff is getting then recommended to you. You're getting recommended a bunch of Silksong videos, and some proportion of them end up being spoilers and, telling you information that you would rather have not learned. So, it's just kind of unfortunate. I don't think there's really a way around it, but just something I've been thinking about as I've been seeing some spoilery stuff. I see you've gone and opened up the great bone gate back there, and without even asking my permission, feeling curious, were you? This is the chapel maid again. There is a vast grave beyond. I'd assumed most bugs died climbing the path, but it seems many fell before their trek had barely commenced. Aye, lost their lives to beasts, or to luck turned rotten. Others were simply formed too frail. At least those poor souls can rest together. Death and death and death, the eternal promise of our eternal kingdom. Eventually it claims us all. Alright, well, Chapel Maid just has that to say. Now we can explore this grave area back here. Some rosaries. A little stairway up here leading maybe back up to where we came from. A mossberry. A mossberry. Another mossberry for the moss druid. Which I still haven't been back to sell my mossberries. If I need to buy something really expensive, I'll go back there and cash them in. Plus, she might have other rewards, right? The Chapel of the Wanderer. So, I've been to one of these already, one of these chapels. And it's how I got my new needle. The one that generates more silk for me. Well, pardon me, it's not a new needle, it's a new crest, which changes my needle, my needle's moveset, I guess. And, this one is less, combat-oriented, I guess. At least at this point, it's mostly just wandering around with traps, but here we have some combat, okay. Now we have some actual pilgrims to fight. Yeah, the Chapel of the Reaper, I believe, is what got me my current crest. Don't hurt me, especially that big bell guy. He does 2 damage on a hit. I was talking in the last video about how many enemies do double damage, how many enemies deal 2 damage on a hit, and I was totally dead there if that guy had gone like an inch farther. And what was funny is that my brother, who doesn't know anything about Hollow Knight, and only knows that I am playing it, sent me a meme, and it was like the types of enemies that dealt 2 damage in Hollow Knight, and then it showed, you know, one of those giant armored bugs from the original Hollow Knight, and then it was like the type of enemy that deals 2 damage in Silksong, and it was just like a little slime, which I thought was funny that I had been talking about that, and then he happened to send me that. Bound the crest of Wanderer, cut swiftly and nimbly precise strikes. So here we have a new crest, and it will automatically equip it for us. It's kind of faster and more agile than the one that we are currently using, but I did swap back to my Reaper pretty quickly. This one has some fun stuff, like you can sprint and slash at the same time, but that doesn't actually seem super helpful because, I mean, actually, I don't know, I haven't used it in combat, I don't think, but if it doesn't, like, stop you or bounce you back or something, then you will just be, you'll just then run into the enemy that you didn't kill and take the damage from colliding with them. But I'm sure it's a good crest, I just haven't, no comment from the chapel made on going through the chapel. I'm sure it's a good crest, I'm just kind of used to my Reaper one at this point. Hunter, Reaper, and Wanderer. Yeah, the memory lockets to expand the crest. I think I upgraded Reaper at some point, but not right now, I guess. I'm just holding on to that memory locket. I was spending them at first when I only had the one crest, because I didn't realize that, there were going to be other options of what to spend them on. And so at this point I was in a mood of being like, maybe I should hold on to my memory lockets a bit more, in case, some other good options pop up. But I did end up deciding that with how much I like just using the Reaper crest, I should upgrade that one some more. Also, having walked into the water of the chapel, it called my mind back here. In the first video, I believe, I came down here and said I didn't want to touch the water because I was afraid it was acid, like in the first game, and would kill me. But it was not acid, and it was actually hiding a shelf fragment or a mask fragment. And if you collect 4 of those, you get another heart, basically, another block of health. So I'm back in the wormways. Here, I think, is where I try to get fancy with it. But it was a fool's errand. What you really must do here is come back with the wall jump ability. It's a little too high to bounce on the enemy, but nevertheless, I am giving it my best try. I don't know if you've ever watched a Hollow Knight speedruns. They're very impressive, but one of the things that they utilize is, jumping off of enemies and shade bouncing, which is a really cool thing where in the first Hollow Knight when you die, you dropped a little shade that would attack you. In this game you just drop a cocoon that just stays still, but in speedrunners would lead an enemy over to a specific spot and then let them kill them there. And then they would go back with their shade and fight the shade, or, rather just lure the shade to a particular spot and then use it as a pogo pad. And I think you could still do that in this one. It's just that the cocoon isn't going to, you're not going to be able to move it around like you could in the first Hollow Knight, where the shade could be kind of manipulated. And so I think that probably limits its usefulness in speedrunning a little bit. But I'm sure when we start getting Silksong speedruns, at some point we will probably see a cocoon bounce. The challenge runs of Silksong were a lot of fun as well. It became kind of a joke about how, when, what no Silksong for 7 years does to a person, does to a community. And, then it would show some challenge run that somebody did. Like, I know some of the Hollow Knight YouTubers. There's like Fireborn, Mossbag. I don't know if Mossbag does challenge runs or mostly just talks about the game. There's another YouTuber that I can't recall at the moment, but I've seen them do challenge runs. Anyway, the one that comes to mind with that meme in particular is the challenge run that somebody did where they removed all of the textures or art from the game, basically. And so it was just the hitboxes. All you could see were hitboxes. And so the Hollow Knight was a little rectangle moving around, and all of the landscapes were just big squares and rectangles, and all of the enemies were squares, and the boss's projectiles and stuff were all squares. So there's lots of fun Hollow Knight challenge stuff online if you're into that. In addition to the speedruns. I think I'm pretty much realizing at this point that there's not really anything else to do in the wormways for me at this moment. So I think I move on here. Once I finish exploring whatever up here is up here. No, I've already been up here. And spikes. I will take this maze of claustrophobic labyrinthine tunnels over Deep Nest any day of the week. Although I'm sure with this game more prominently featuring arachnids, there will be a horrible Deep Nest type area in this game at some point. I've seen some pretty nasty little spider enemies already, and I fear for my life that those spider enemies are going to have a whole area of tiny little tunnels a quick squat on that bench, then continue on our way into the Shellwood. The Shellwood. So this way, that sign, I believe, points to the haunted Bellhart area. We have some pogo roses, and Shakra is here again. Needle child, I encountered a settlement near here, at the core of a vein of old bells. The bugs there were snared silent on a web of silk. It seemed the pernicious trap of some unseen predator. I left quickly, making sure to avoid the glimmering threads. I passed the town myself, the thread sickness. I have seen its like upon the roads, but there it does not discriminate. The curse that strikes the town, it is driven, focused, a cold use of silk at a concerning scale. If the path permits, I will investigate its source. So, Shakra has the Bellhart map for me as well, and the Shellwood map. So I'll go ahead and purchase both of those. Always good to have some, situational awareness of the areas. I get lost easily enough as it is, even with a map. Without a map, I can quickly fall into madness. As you will see in the next video, when I wander hopelessly for like 40 minutes. We can start climbing our way up in the Shellwood. And seems like these little flower enemies are initially kind of indistinguishable from our pogo flower buds. I should go back to the ant area now that I have a much easier pogo. And actually, I did pretty much clear the ant area at the time. The problem was that I didn't have the movement tech that I needed. I hit certain areas that I could not progress any farther. I was actually pretty annoyed. Not annoyed, just disappointed, I guess. There's this big, high shaft in the ant area, and through a lot of pogo, with my diagonal dash that I found very difficult at the time, I managed to eventually get up as high as I could, but then I was blocked off from going any higher, and the only reward was a box of shell shards, which I think I've talked about in the past. Makes me very sad, because shell shards are basically useless. So, looks like a little harp thing. Oh, ooh. I think I need to come back here. I won't spoil it, but I think I have something now that might be applicable there. I'm not sure, but I gotta go back and check it out. I like these stick bugs. of a fun design. These things are nasty to me. For some reason, they're bulb. They're like head-looking bulb. I find sort of unnerving in the way that it thrusts out like that. Let's go, a rosary string. I'm rich. I'm rich. Yeah, just looking around this area. Remember, there's a little arena fight down here, but I don't remember what its point is. Forget if this unlocks something. Let's see when I beat it, what happens. The stick bugs. The stick bugs. Stick bugs are kind of messing me up here. Dang. I died. I died. I died. I died. And I didn't even buy that bench. Because I hate benches so much. So, off to go get my cocoon again. These little hunters here, they insta-kill the water bugs in this pond with their spears. If one of their spears hits a water bug, it instantly dies. Oh, I remember this part. Pilgrim, spare a song for those who lay here silent, by strength abandoned, they fell before the final ascent. Oh, I should come back here too, that might be a clue. Yeah, I actually end up losing sorry, I'm just watching the disaster that's about to happen. Yep. I lose my cocoon because I went up there and got knocked around by Big Boy. Big Boy with his rosary chain whip. That's why you should just go straight back to your cocoon. Okay? When you die, don't mess around exploring new areas. Just go get your stuff back. This guy is brutal, though. Another two-hitter. I end up just kind of cheesing him here. I just wait for him to come over to the edge and get these cheap shots. Alright, it's called tactics, okay? You wouldn't understand, you've never read The Art of War. Me, I know that this is actually the noblest way to fight. Alright, I was very interested in taking this guy out though because of all of the rosaries on him. And he dropped almost 40 rosaries, so that's not bad. It's not bad at all. But I do believe I kind of decided this would be a good place to wrap it up, so I think I'll be finding my way back to some bench or someplace soon enough. And we can rest until our next visit to Hollow Knight. So up our Pogo Trail. If I can remember how to Pogo. video clip, and it was like, Yanny, Yanny, Yanny. You know what I'm talking about? It's like Laurel or Yanny. Everybody heard different things. It was it's the dress, you know, blue and black or white and gold or whatever it was. Come here, boy. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? He's my best boy. He's my best boy. Alright, we're going to return to Bone Bottom and take a load off. I love the little bug dog that carries you through the bellways. Alright, what am I doing over here? I'm just checking for more quests. No more quests. Thank you for joining me again in Hollow Knight Silksong. I hope you're enjoying checking out my playthrough. I don't know how long or frequent this series will be. I'm certainly playing the game, you know, whenever I have time for a little gaming, so, I definitely will be, you know, finishing the game, but I can't promise that the videos of it will be, as frequent as they are now. And, you know, in fact, may even dry up entirely, so. But we don't need to worry about such things now. Until next time, my friends.